So I'm going to quickly pop in. I'm going to say that I don't know what it will be about, but I think to an extent I do, because we're in the Emperor year. I mean, come on, it's almost like we do know what this year was going to be about. We've all spoke of it being related to 2020 and clear vision. We all know that it's related, or those in the know of the tarot and things like that know that it's related to the Emperor and hierarchy and leadership. And the other alternative to that is the 13th card, because the Emperor is 4. So the 13th card, which adds up to 4, which is death. So deep down inside, even if you have no knowledge of the tarot, no knowledge of numbers and it being linked to clear vision, no knowledge of any of it, just take a moment inside and ask yourself if you firmly believed things were going to stay the same way. Did you firmly believe on a collective level, without any knowledge of anything, that the earth could carry on the way that she was without giving? That the systems could carry on the way that they were without giving? Something had to give. There has been for a very long time an internal war with ourselves, with our own shadow and our own light, but also an external war with each other. And that's been coming to light with the hashtag #MeToo and, you know, the talk of the divine feminine and the sacred masculine. It's all been coming up on a more human, everyday level. We're all noticing that feeling of things not quite being in alignment with what we want or where we're going. So we did know about this, just like I knew this morning I was going to talk about the Emperor energy. Yes, I'm on the Emperor card, so that kind of gave me a bit of a hint. Yes, we're in the Emperor year. Okay, yes, we're in the Emperor year, but it's about listening to what you know deep down inside. And I know for myself personally, I'd say the last year or so, I've not quite felt in alignment with where things could be. I've made do. I think a lot of us have made do, and that's wonderful. We found gratitude in the things that we have, and that's incredible. But this morning, very clearly, I felt quite guilty at first, but very clearly whilst doing my exercises, my stretches, what I call my Foga-Lattes, which I'll get onto in a moment, I became quite emotional because there was a window there to think about what we might want to birth, what we can take from this situation, how we can move forward. So for argument's sake, we're getting an opportunity to see things online that we never would have seen. Tai Chi, art classes. We're getting an opportunity to spend more time with our children and our loved ones. There are many potentials there. This morning when I tuned into the tarot cards, what I clearly received is there are many people doing their work, not wrong, but potentially in an arena that isn't quite aligned with them. And to see this sabbatical almost as a chance to really get in alignment with what it is we came here to do. So am I talking about putting steps in place now? Yes, because we are still in a cycle. Life still goes on. And I know that can seem really strange when we're at the potential point of lockdown. How can we get anything done when we can't go outside? Because outside is a continual mirror of inside. So what needs to be done inside? So this morning I did my own stretches. And for those that know me, this will be no big shock or surprise. But for those that don't, I won't say I suffer or have, but I experience severe fibromyalgia. I experience severe endometriosis, where the lining of my womb is stuck to many organs, and adenomyosis. So the lining, my womb is very bulky. Alongside the fibromyalgia, I experience costochondritis, which is inflammation of the rib cage. many mental and biochemical imbalances, severe allergies to all painkillers as a side effect, as a result, including paracetamol. Yeah, and for those that know about fibromyalgia, you're probably sat there nodding your head. And for those that don't, it's a spectrum. There are some days where I can feel absolutely fine, almost normal, and other days where clothes burn my skin, where noises and sounds almost become, I can taste them. I end up ingesting them. The sensitivity to it just becomes incredible. An acute awareness. And this started, it's always been in my life, but it really ramped up about 11, 12 years ago with a dis-ease, with an infection. And I'm bringing this up for several reasons, because it does feel like there is going to be obviously an after this. We've seen in the news the impact on mental health and things like that with all of this going on at the moment. And for me, it's an opportunity to look at health holistically, to take that opportunity now to really get on board at looking at your health from a whole spectrum, a whole wheel, mind, body, and soul. So not just the food that we are putting into our body. When I first started to experience fibromyalgia, meat, my body couldn't tolerate it. Eggs, my body couldn't tolerate it. Dairy is always very it's getting to the point where that can no longer be tolerated. Spicy foods, all these kind of things. I had to really listen to my body. I fought it, especially when it came to alcohol. I did fight what my body was trying to tell me, but it just couldn't tolerate these energies anymore. Even smoking. I was a smoker for 30 years, and as of November last year, even that's been hit on the head. Next came exercise. So all the things that I used to love doing, dance and running and like really being quite an active person, stopped. My muscles could no longer hold the stretches I was doing, the exercises that I was doing. So I adapted and invented what I call Foga-Lattes. Yoga for me was a no-go. Pilates was a no-go. With fibromyalgia, one of the side effects I have is myophasia, so I have knots underneath the connecting muscles. So if I stretch too far, I do damage and then can't move for days. So it's about finding that balance. And how did I do that? Listening to my body again. The same with the food, listening to my body. So Foga-Lattes is a mixture of fibromyalgia-induced yoga and Pilates. And with that, I literally use my body to stretch and move. I go right into my body, which is one of the things we stop doing after a disaster or a crisis or a dis-ease. We almost leave our body. So I come back right into my body. And wherever the pain is, I use that. I use that to stretch there, to move there, to allow the energy to flow there. Which then brings me on to the next aspect of our health, energy. Now, before the fibromyalgia and everything else, I am a very scientific person. I like to know how things work. Being a midwife for over a decade, I was very medically minded. And that's one half of it. The other half is health on a holistic level. So with the fibromyalgia now, as many of you know, I do a lot of energy work and healing and working with aromatherapy and colour and crystals and things like that. And it's just brought that other edge to it. It's helped me to look at my health holistically, which has been really important, because now when I have an ache or a pain, I can look at what I'm eating, what I'm thinking, how I'm moving, what's going on with that energy, and I can really go into it and release the story. The body is made up of many levels, and the last one is the physical. Yeah, the last level to heal is the physical. So we can go down and we can heal the mind, we can heal the emotion, the spirit, and the physical body. The four. Now, the reason I bring that up talking about the emperor is because right now we're almost being given an opportunity to avoid too much damage after this. This is going to have a knock-on effect on us physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. It is going to have a knock-on effect. So what can we put in place now, especially as a lot of us are being self-isolated or quarantined, and that could increase? What can we put in place now to almost cradle that effect later? I'm acutely aware of the potential of post-traumatic stress after this. So how can we get that balance now? What solid foundations? Because yes, the emperor destroys because of the 13, but he also starts to build a solid empire. What solid foundations can you start to put into place? And what I hear is it's things that you've all wanted to do for some time. So, I need to exercise more. Okay, improvise. You know, my son was down here today. He loves to go to the gym, but he was down here today with 2 dining room chairs doing the most incredible press-ups in between them all. Improvise. I was using baked beans this morning. There are things that we can do. We can stretch, we can move, we can dance. Yeah. Oh, I need to eat a bit better. Well, with the rationing and the shutdown of fast food places and things like that, yeah, we're kind of being given that option. Going back old school and looking at eating with vegetables. I had a stew the other day that I turned into a cottage pie that I then a few days later, because we're vegetarian, turned into a vegetable pie. There are ways that we can stretch this food, okay? And it's all vegetables, it's all healthy. Water. I cannot stress it enough. Drink plenty. On that note, drink plenty, as much as you can, to help flush this through. We are still given the option of getting outside in nature, so make the most of that. Obviously, realistically, with the government's advice, with the gaps that are being advised, they are there for a reason, which brings me on to another aspect of the emperor. The last thing I want to say is the emperor has the 4, and these are the 4 elements within us: our thoughts, our emotions, our spirituality, and our physical body. It's time to start looking after our inner landscape so that we then reflect that outside and become the reflection of what the earth is doing herself. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. So coming on to restrictions, because we are on the emperor, or I am on the emperor card today, but we are in the emperor year, and I will show you the card that I'm on, and it's called the Rebel. And look at these chains that are being broken. And we are seeing the emperor in many ways, shapes and forms, from people that are refusing to stick to guidelines and doing whatever they want. This is the rebel. People that are actually judging that. So yesterday I nearly did a video. And the thing with awareness, when you end up doing the whole circle, is you end up looking at how you're portraying onto things as well, and your own judgments and your own fears and where they come from, and are you actually adding to a good fire or a fire that's just going to cause catastrophe. So I didn't post the video yesterday because I was firmly believing that Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister in the UK, should do a lockdown. Firmly believing that, because people weren't responding to his guidance. However, bringing it back to the self, always bringing it back to the self, being your own emperor. Where did that come from? Obviously fear. Obviously fear. People walking around on the beach, left, right and centre, believing they're immune, and I hope they are. I hope that mindset is their strength and what they bring to the universe. I really hope they are immune. They are the rebel aspect of the emperor that we're seeing. And then there's Boris Johnson, who's suggesting more guidelines and not imposing the lockdown as yet. I know a lot of people that would appreciate it if he did. And yes, I go through patches of wishing the same. However, when I look at Boris Johnson, and it's a personal opinion, I see an emperor or an energy, not the man himself, but an energy that has faith in mankind, that has faith that they will do what is being asked of them without being imposed or imprisoned, that has faith that people will be their own emperor, that they will take their own light and go, yes, this is what I must do for humanity, for my bit. So we can ask Boris Johnson to lock down, and I can probably see it will go that way. Or we can take responsibility ourselves. These people that are on the beach and in crowded places, we can argue they're being very irresponsible. However, if we're being responsible and not going outside, the risk to us is less, which means the risk to our loved ones is less, which means we are doing our bit. Bring it back to the self all the time, because if we are to judge somebody, we are still adding the old energy. We are still adding the old energy. If you want to add anything, see those people that are out in crowded places as immune. Yeah, see them as immune. We might all want to be down the beach too, and that could be our trigger. So see them as immune so that they don't spread it. So the other thing I wanted to say about the Emperor, I really feel an energy, an opportunity now to step up and do the things that we've always wanted to do, to start putting in place now in the next 12 weeks. It feels 13, but in the next 12, 13 weeks, to really put in place what it is we want out of life. Okay? Taking care of ourselves first and foremost, obviously, and then taking it from there. Now, last night Last night I had a tickle in my throat again, and yes, there was that, is it the virus? What should I be doing? Da da da. I'm pretty self-isolated anyway, I always have been. But I went into it and I gave it some healing, and I actually called upon the violet ray, which is something we can all do. And I slept last night with this incredible amethyst crystal, and with the Empress under my pillow. Wonderful dreams about my car being sunk underwater, smashing the windscreen, the way that I see things, with a indigenous boot that I bought in Canada that I've only ever worn once in a video where I was talking about walking our own paths. So yes, powerful messages from the Empress, from the earth, from the creating or creativity within me. So again, taking that opportunity to, it feels like there's many of us that have been doing things for other reasons, so finances or supporting a household, or because it's the natural progression of where we are, and there's no right or wrong with that, but this could be an opportunity to either expand those things in a different way, or to find something that really sings to your heart, that isn't related to what you're earning, that isn't related to your bills or your family needs or whatever, but yours. So interesting times. The last thing I want to mention on the Emperor is, for years we've been talking about sacred union. We've been talking about the divine feminine, and we've been talking about asking for the sacred masculine to rise. He's here. He's here, and he's here within us all, on all levels, from the rebel that refuses to walk away from the beach to the leader that is hoping we will see sense before he has to almost tell us off like little school children. So yeah, bring it back to the self again. Look at your own union of your masculine and feminine, the actions that you're doing and why you're doing them. How do they feel on an elemental basis, on a balanced basis? And start transmuting that energy, because it feels like the violet ray is really starting to come through for us all to utilize, which, if you know about that, fantastic. If not, it's mainly about transmuting things, being the change that you want to see, being the emperor that you want in your life, not leaving it up to Boris or people that are walking down the beach or our loved ones. Take charge of your life. We are not victims. We are not martyrs. Start putting in place a routine that works for you, that looks at all aspects of your health and your life. That includes what it is you do for a living, the empire that you're building, and the body that you're living in. Okay, so I think that's everything, to be honest. Gotta love the Emperor energy. Love it. We will just pull one. Don't know why. what I'm hearing is, why are you seeking the same guidance? Why are we seeking the same guidance? It's the same thing over and over. Take charge of our lives. Be the change that we want to see. It's always been this way. Be responsible. Yeah, and it does feel like that's what we're being given the opportunity of here, because we have the Tower card at the top, which is breakthrough, a chance to really break through everything that restricted us. We have been our own forcible emperor at times in our own lives. We have had emotions that we've refused to feel. We have had ideas we have refused to act on. We have imprisoned ourselves many times over as an emperor of our own lives. And this is an opportunity now to break through with that. To break through with that, because next to that you have the Four of Swords, which is postponement. This does look like isolation, self-isolation. But what I'm clearly hearing is this happened a long time before the virus. Many times we would look out to the life that we wanted, many times, and see it as separate. Yeah, so it's seeing the life that we want as part of us now and breaking through any restrictive beliefs or systems that we have put there. Yeah, I get it. Underneath that, there's deep healing, which I will talk about. We do what we have to do, and I get that. But at the moment, we are being given an opportunity to not do what we've always had to do. That's powerful and pretty exciting just before a new moon. So underneath it all, we have healing, which I think is the King of Cups, and he keeps on making an appearance. Yes, healing. And that for me feels like the King of Cups feels like the Emperor. Even though we see him as a fire sign, he feels very healing, very healing. Well, he feels like the sacred masculine here. What I received yesterday very clearly is that we are all developing. I felt very emotional for no particular reason. It wasn't fear, it wasn't anger, it was just tears, release after release, feeling like I was held, really held. And feel it again. And I like to believe I'm very connected to the earth. But there's room for improvement with myself as well. There's room for improvement, for connecting to that deep healing energy that is waiting to come in. And if that takes lockdown, so be it. Hopefully people will realise and start to come in more anyway, and we can still have the benefit of nature and everything else. But remember that nature is within you too. That connection is within you too. So keeping an eye on your own elements and keeping them balanced. I think, yeah, that is everything. I'm going to make a move and I'm going to go and do a video in my group. Take care. Lots of love to everybody. Be your own emperor. Stop looking at others to tell you what to do. This is what we didn't want. This was the hierarchy we were trying to break through. Yeah, we didn't want to be told what to do anymore. So take responsibility. Take care. Bye.